What year did
This meeting is being recorded.
in what year did subsidies start?
Oh, okay. And what year did crop subsidies start?
Yes, farm subsidies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also going to get us live streaming if anyone wants to drop their answer to that in the chat. Okay, Inez says 1919. Let's see if we have any more guesses. 1948.
We'll let people guess, and then we'll reveal the answer right before we get started, Brad.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, give me 1 second here to get us live streaming on Facebook. That's where you can find the recording of our talk today with Brad. It will be available there immediately.
We love it when folks share what they've learned on Lunch and Learn and bring more people to the great topics that we're discussing. So tell your friends about what you've seen on Lunch and Learn and how they can find it.
Okay, I think we should be all set with our recording and our live stream. Aaron, if you want to get us started, I am ready here.
Well, very good. Well, welcome everyone. This is the Iowa Farmers Union Lunch and Learn, and we are so grateful to be joined today by Iowa Farmers Union Brad Wilson, and we'll talk about Project 2025 and what it has to say about USDA farm programs. So thanks for being here, Brad, and we'll do a couple of Farmers Union announcements, but thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
We are going to give just a couple of updates on some Farmers Union activities. Next week, well, actually September, a week and a half, September 8th through 11th, the Iowa Farmers Union will be sending farmers to Washington, D.C. Our team will be joining family farmers from around the country, and we'll be getting briefings on all the important issues. We'll be having agency visits at the USDA, Department of Justice, and many others. And we will be having congressional office visits with the Iowa delegation, where our Iowa farmers bring their story about how farm policy impacts them and their communities. It's not too late to join us. If you're interested, email me at alayman@iowafarmersunion.org. We are so happy that we're able to bring our message to policy leaders in Washington, D.C., September 8th through 11th. Next, I wanted to let people know that we are very happy to be a co-sponsor of a very important conference at Drake University, September 25 through 26. It deals with industrial, farm, animal, livestock production, and the environment and public health. And we have a whole host of fantastic speakers lined up. This is at Drake University, again, September 25th and 26th. We're looking forward to hearing the latest information from experts around the country. This is co-hosted by Johns Hopkins University and their Center for a Livable Future. And so the link to register is going to be in our chat. You can sign up now. And next week at our Lunch and Learn, we'll be joined by Adam Schreiber of the Harkin Institute at Drake University. And we're going to get a preview of the fantastic things that are going to be discussed at the Drake University Conference on Industrial Farm Animal Production, Environment, and Public Health. So tune in next week on Lunch and Learn to get a sneak preview of all that's going on with Adam Schreiber. Well, with that, we want to turn our attention to our topic for today. Again, our guest is Brad Wilson, who is a local foods farmer and an Iowa Farmers Union member, who's been an activist on family farm justice issues for about 40 years through his work as a farm organizer and policy specialist and movement leader and independent researcher and writer. Today, we're going to talk about Project 2025 and what it has to say about USDA farm programs. We'll get some historical context about what is happening to the main farm program since parity years, and including the support of them and opposition to them. And in that context, we'll talk about Project 2025 and what it means to talk about farm programs. So we are so grateful that you're joining with us today, Brad. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Well, lead us through our discussion for today.
Yes, and there can be more than one answer depending on how much you know, but subsidies started in 1961 as shown at the Economic Research Service table of information on farm subsidies. 1961 for corn, wheat, and grain sorghum. 62 was barley, 64 cotton, and later years for other crops.
Well, very good. That's the answer to our trivia question. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just talking about the basic farm commodity subsidies. Now, Project 2025, there are a lot of things in it. More than almost 1,000 pages, and it has a chapter on USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, and that's what I'm looking at here. And I'm focusing on the farm programs and not the nutrition title so much. I've written a paper on this, 28 pages actually, and made a video, half an hour, and a slideshow. And I will link that later. I'll make that available later, such as on the farmer at Facebook at Farmers Union or whatever. We can get that out. We had a few technical issues, so I'm getting a little slow start here. I'm calling this Project 2025 versus family farmers. And so it's eliminating agencies, eliminating market management, and also compensatory subsidies. Let's see what I've got. I'm going to start out with just some general overview of the Farm Bill so you can see this in context. I found that you need to understand the context to understand Project 2025. So the first two here, number one and number two, the basic farm programs, the main farm programs were market management, minimum farm price floors, backed up by supply reductions as needed to balance supply and demand. And then also there's a topside price ceilings and reserve supplies. So it's similar to minimum wage floors. It's not a government check. It's a standard. And so, and the main thing is that prices being too low. That's what usually happens. It's not so often that prices are high and the price ceilings kick in. So, and just very briefly, a timeline here that, we had market failure. That's why we have the Farm Bill. I'm showing when here, my when question, which is that they started in 1933, and then through 1941, it was a slow start, and price floors were at a not slowly raised in level, and more price floor programs were added. 1942 to 52 is when we had 100% of parity every year, and that's a standard of like a living wage standard of a fair price, the traditional standard. And so that is when there were the most programs, and they were I'll show more about in my data charts, and then reductions till 1995, and then ending the market management part of the Farm Bill, the real part of the Farm Bill. So, and this is just an article, why do we have a lack of price responsiveness? Markets fail for agriculture, especially, and on both supply and demand sides. And so this is the price floors. And this, I think, is my most important chart. Have you ever seen a price floor chart historically? Okay, to show what really happened in the Farm Bill. This is I sometimes call this the hidden Farm Bill. People today don't know about it. They only know about spending and subsidies, like a pie spending chart, but that doesn't have this in it. There's nothing here. So the green is the parity years, price floors at 90% of parity or 85%, with the hopes of getting 100% of parity. And then the lowering of price floors, occasionally a cost of living adjustment, and then no price floors since 1996. That was called the Freedom to Farm Bill, but it actually took away freedom. And so if you take that same thing, this is by decade pretty much, and then you can add in the price. And so the price pretty much followed it down, the price in red. And then the yellow is the subsidies added on top. And this is a summary for 8 major crops that you can add together because they're in bushels, that kind of thing. Anyway, that's basically what happened in the Farm Bill. And so again, I was in terms of subsidies, people think of spending pie. I mentioned that, but there's another pie that people don't know about, which is the market management reductions. If we go back up here, it's the reductions below the black line toward the red line. And so this the pie chart for at the top left is just the farmer part of the farm program, not nutrition title, and the bottom chart is the market managed reductions, and that would be like 8 times bigger, according to a parity standard. You can use a lesser standard, but so up on the upper right, people have seen this kind of a chart of subsidies as big on the chart, but that's only 0 to 27 billion. This is for recent years, starting in 95, by the way, till maybe 2010. Yes, and but then if you add in the reductions, they're down below, and they're much bigger. And this is based on a parity standard. So you could have a standard that's not as high as parity, in which case the yellow would be reduced. But in the long run, it adds up to trillions of dollars of reductions. And you'd still have a net of trillions, even if you reduce those yellow ones quite a bit. So what I want to say with regard to Project 2025 is that it reminded me of the adaptive program for agriculture from another think tank, the Committee for Economic Development, back in the 60s. And this was big in the family farm movement. The NFO was fighting this a lot. And it called for reducing the number of farmers and farm laborers by a third in less than 5 years, not more than 5 years, by lowering price floors. Okay, so anyway, Project 2025, and there are 334 policy recommendations, not all of which were adopted, but anyway, they were there. And for our purposes, ending the last remaining market management program for field crops for sugar beets and sugarcane. You know, we still have those. I guess they say ADM, corn sweeteners, they want to still have them for sugarcane and sugar beets, and that helps corn sugars a little bit. And that's some say why we still have the sugar programs. They say end them. And just a little bit on sugar. Upper left is a cost of production for sugar beets, often below 0 in the way USDA measures it. I can explain that more later. But anyway, then as a percent of parity, the prices, lower left sugar beets, lower right sugar cane. You see, it goes downhill just like my other charts. And there's a thing in Project 2025 talks like sugar had record high prices, but that was for refined sugar. And we find out that refined sugar prices went up as the farmer's price went down. But anyway, so I'm showing the record low prices in USDA data, and most of them are in the 20th century. There's nothing like a record high. But anyway, so another thing, there's also market management, ending market order programs for fruits and vegetables because they had some supply management in there. A lot of people don't know that there's farm programs for fruits and vegetables. They're perishable, they rot. So they're not the same as storable grains. And so they have a different kind of program. And then also ending the conservation reserve program. Now that helps with oversupply. And so I put that in here with these other market management aspects. And then the subsidies. So price loss coverage, PLC, end that one. Agriculture risk coverage, end that one. Crop revenue premium insurance subsidies. They want to keep that one. That's the most irrational of subsidies because no company would insure against the cheap prices of market failure. No company would insure against Congress lowering and ending. If Congress lowers and enters and maintains no price floors, then we'll pay you for insurance. No, they're not going to do that. And if they did, farmers couldn't afford it. So anyway, the crop insurance companies, they get a subsidy. So they ignore that. They don't mention it. So I assume that's kept. Okay, they're continuing subsidies to the companies. And then also, by the way, ending conservation compliance requirements. So, and then eliminating agencies. Some of this was adopted and some not, but it was recommended. And the Farm Service Agency that runs these programs, and the Risk Management Agency that runs crop insurance, and Foreign Agricultural Service, AMS, Marketing Service, Rural Development, and so forth. You can get a list like this that has them all in there. But anyway, I guess I'm at the end here. How did I do on time?
You're doing great, Brad. This is super. We're going to encourage people to put their questions in the Q&A box, and we'll get to as many as we possibly can. We know that this is a huge topic, and condensing it into a half hour is just kind of the start of our conversation here. So, Brad, give us, before we go any further, though, give us some background about, for folks who don't know, Project 2025 was developed by who?
By the Heritage Foundation, sort of a think tank, basically a conservative think tank, and they've been talking about a lot of these things for a good while. And the people that wrote it, a lot of them were people from the Trump administration. And of course, there's a controversy about that. One subsidy I didn't mention was using the CCC to do some emergency things. So when Trump was in office, he had this trade war with China and ended up paying some extra subsidies, like an emergency farm bill, and they're against that. And then Biden, I think, used that for some boost up conservation programs. So they're ending that. Excuse me.
In addition to ending CRP and price loss coverage and agricultural risk coverage and crop insurance subsidies for farmers, in addition, they would decrease that emergency powers for CCC by the secretary. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
just as a summary here, then also just that, so that a lot of the, looking at this as authoritarian, a lot of the bad things to farmers already happened before Project 2025. Going downhill like this, and the call to get rid of a third of the farmers in 5 years. Well, we actually didn't do it quite that fast, but we got rid of 60% of the farmers and 95% of the black farmers over a longer period of time. And so that's what I mean by authoritarian. It's criticized the whole thing as authoritarian, and that's how I see this as authoritarian. And so it's taking what little is left and especially going against the market management, but also the subsidies.
Sure. So, Brett, we've heard about a lot about Project 25 in a larger context, but relay to us the reaction to 2025 in the farm community. Seems like in some circles we hear a lot about, in others that it seems a little bit quiet reaction to Project 2025 among other farm organizations and the agriculture industry as a whole. What would you say the reaction has been?
Well, the family farm movement has not really been as strong on the price floor issue, and so farmers are not, I think, as well informed about that aspect and where we have come, and then how that is continued here. But to compensate for all those reductions, we have the subsidies, and so farmers are not happy about not having those subsidies. And I've seen a few things, like in farm magazines, they mention it, and that's about all they talk about. Is they don't talk about it the way I do, which sees it in this context of reduced market management, the huge reductions, but mainly the subsidies. And it's just not something farmers are going to be happy about.
Yes, and Farmers Union has been advocating for parity price programs, which, as you gave an excellent description of what parity is, a Project 2025 program would basically do away with, it sounds like it would just do away with parity policies altogether. Yes.
And by the way, Jay Howe had a question he sent earlier of what can we do about it in general, about to restore things. And on that, there are a number of proposals out there, and one of them is by the Farmers Union. By the way, when the Farmers Union president spoke at our convention, I asked him about this, and he didn't know that NFU had a program, a proposal. But it does have a proposal that would, over a certain number of years, would save $100 billion, and you'd have more money for all kinds of other things like conservation, and you could put some to the nutrition, food stamps kind of thing. But we have these proposals, and one of the questions would be, how do you win it? Well, probably not by starting by asking for the parity level of support, but rather something more like the Farmers Union proposal, which is much lower than parity, to at least say, well, at least give us enough, managed supply and a price floor enough so we don't have any subsidies to replace that. And what that does is farmers don't get more money unless you raise a little bit more than that. But and they do get more money in the NFU proposal as it was studied by the APAC, Agriculture Policy Research, Analysis, APAC, Darrell Ray. So he did a study where he showed, like, during the lowest prices in history, you would get a higher price, which we had that after '96 Farm Bill, and then during in his standard, in the NFU standard, during the ethanol boom 7 years, then that would be a lower price, and so it would level out in that way. But without the subsidies and with a higher price, that means CAFOs pay more, agribusiness pays more, junk food pays more to farmers.
Yeah, and would improve the entire system in that way, Brad. I think that's the point, the great point that you're bringing out. So, Brad, what do you, when people are asking, hey, what's the first steps we should take when we want to bring attention to Project 2025, how it impacts family farmers when during this campaign season? There's going to be a lot of questions asked about this and how it might impact Iowa and Iowa rural communities. What's the first step you would tell people to take?
We need our organizations. Well, first of all, here's the first step. Discuss these issues and these basic farm bill issues at the the Iowa Farmers Union Conference. And there probably are a couple more topics that we could go into in more detail, like this farm subsidy myths. There are dozens of them to understand these, and also then to look more closely at the NFU proposal to learn better the NFU proposal and the other proposals like the National Family Farm Coalition, and then the Campaign for Family Farms and the Environment now has a proposal also. So to learn the proposals, and we have in the 21st century, we have a food movement and also environmental and so forth, working on the Farm Bill like we never had before. And guess what? They oppose cheap food and cheap corn, as Michael Pollan, for example, used to say a lot in the various videos and books and things. Okay, they just haven't really learned how to do it. And so to teach the food movement, the anti-CAFO movement, and the, as well as bringing this up in the family farm, to get these movements that would be supportive to know that it's not just subsidies, but it's also market management. Project 2025 looks to some people like subsidy reforms. Isn't it good to cut subsidies? Well, that's because they don't know about the reductions that happened ahead of time. What the family farm movement has wanted and what the NFU proposal does is end subsidies by eliminating the need for them by restoring adequate price floor supply management.
Well, very good, Brad. And you did a great job of bringing out how this feeds into all aspects of a good farm bill and farm policy, and ties that all together. I know we didn't have enough time to really dive into the nutrition pieces. I did get a question that was asking just a highlight about how Project 2025 treats nutrition programs.
Yes.
Could you share with us really quickly about that?
Elizabeth Henderson had a nice piece that talked about a number of those parts, and I'm sorry, I can't answer that off the top of my head.
Okay. Well,
But
very
it's in
good.
chapter 10. It's in chapter 10.
I see. Another question asked, how does Project 2025 impact farm lending? We have programs that are designed to help farmers through their unique credit situation. Project 2025, does that address lending questions and USDA's role?
Well, I didn't see anything on farm credit, as I recall, in this chapter 2020, chapter 10 about USDA farm programs. But, if you have less money, it's going to be harder to get a loan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And harder to pay off a loan. And pay off a loan.
Well, very good. Well, this is a huge topic, and I know that it's just the start of our conversation today, but Brad, thank you for providing this information, and we have links for people to get more information and dive deeper into it, and really stresses the importance of getting informed and getting to work informing folks about the impact of what Project 2025 could mean for our rural communities. So thank you so much, Brad, for sharing it.
You're welcome. If you could just hold on a second here. And I'll put a link in for where you can find my information. And I will put other information in there, including this slideshow. If I can.
Very good. I think actually Christina has put it in the chat for folks to jump on the link in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, Brad,
And,
I shared your email, Brad, and then I shared a link, I think, to some of your materials, like.
Okay, great. Oh yeah, I did that earlier. That's right. Okay, great.
And in addition, we included Brad's email for people to follow up as well. So thank you so much, Brad, for being with us today.
Feel free to contact me.
We will do it. All right, folks, this has been a super edition of our Lunch and Learn that was able to explore the impact of Project 2025 on Iowa agriculture. And we are so grateful for Brad to being with us to share with us. I'll just give a reminder for folks that if you're interested in National Farmers Union flying activities, please reach out. We'll be sending a crew to Washington very, very soon. And also we wanted to leave another reminder for the Drake University Harkin Institute Conference on Animal Agriculture and Impacts on Health and the Environment taking place. So please check that out in the link as well, taking place later in September. The Iowa Farmers Union Lunch and Learn is an attempt to bring important issues about family farming, sustainable agriculture, and rural communities to the general public and to our membership. If you haven't had a chance to join the Iowa Farmers Union, please do so now. Go to iowafarmersunion.org and sign up today. We know that we are strongest and we can be the most effective when we work together. So thank you again, Christina. Thank you, Brad, for sharing with us today. We appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. Yes.
Have a good day, everyone.
Enjoyed it.
Everyone, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.